A single message shattered years of sacrifice, leaving a chilling void where warmth should have been. Eleanor Vance, a seasoned architect who had spent years building her career and supporting her family, sat alone in her quiet city apartment on the eve of the annual family retreat. After years of dedicated work, long hours, and countless financial contributions to her family's struggling business, Eleanor received a stark message from her father. "Don't bother coming to the family gathering this year. We decided it's best you stay away." No inquiry about her well-being, no expression of missing her, just a cold decree. How could a family, for whom she had sacrificed so much, issue such a brutal dismissal? It felt like an unspoken agreement had been made to cast her out, just when she finally thought her hard work might earn her a place. Eleanor's initial shock gave way to a quiet resolve. This was a different kind of finality, one that signaled the end of her relentless pursuit of their approval. What would happen when the quiet daughter, so long ignored, finally stopped playing by their rules? Before the stark message, before the bitter quiet, there was a lifetime of unacknowledged effort. From her teenage years, Eleanor had strived to prove her worth to her demanding father, Mr. Albright, and her quiet, anxious mother, Mrs. Albright. Her brother, Arthur, always walked in their father's shadow, finding peace in agreement. Eleanor had poured her energy into her career, rising through the ranks, often sending money home when the family business faced a downturn or personal emergencies arose. They never questioned the source of the funds or the cost to her, simply accepting the help with minimal acknowledgement. She constantly hoped for a gathering where her presence would be genuinely welcomed, not just tolerated as an obligation. Why did her father always see her as a burden, even after all her success? Was it a fundamental flaw in her, or a deep-seated issue within the family dynamics that cast her as the perpetual outsider? This year, however, was different. She was finally stepping away from her demanding corporate role, hoping for a quieter chapter, perhaps even a chance for genuine connection. But instead of an invitation home, a chilling text arrived, setting a new plan into motion. A forgotten document, hidden in a digital archive, held the key to a truth far more profound than she ever imagined. 5 years prior, during a particularly stressful period in her career, her father had asked Eleanor to co-sign a critical document for the family's cherished estate, a second mortgage. She was young, exhausted, and desperate for his fleeting approval. Believing it to be a mere formality, Eleanor signed without thoroughly reviewing the papers. The incident faded from her mind until her father's recent rejection ignited a cold determination within her. Searching through old work emails for a distraction, she stumbled upon a digital copy of the co-signing agreement. The sheer irony of the situation struck her. While her father was busy pushing her away, he had inadvertently given her the very tool to reassert herself. How could he have forgotten such a critical detail, or truly believed she would remain powerless? Within the dense legal jargon, a specific clause stood out, chillingly clear. In the event of primary borrower default or voluntary transfer, the cosigner assumes controlling interest over the property until full loan maturity. Controlling interest. Eleanor sat in stunned silence. She was not just a cosigner, she was the majority owner. Armed with newly discovered knowledge, Eleanor prepared her silent, potent response. That same night, from her solitary apartment, Eleanor contacted a legal expert she knew, posing a hypothetical question about a co-signer's majority interest. The lawyer's response confirmed her power. Instead of confronting her family directly, Eleanor drafted a formal letter, calm, precise, and devastatingly effective. It stated her immediate intent to exercise her controlling interest as co-signer and legal part owner of the family estate, informing them all further communications would go through her counsel. She sent it via certified mail, ensuring they would receive it together. Why did she choose such a detached, formal approach? Was it a calculated move to amplify the shock, or a manifestation of her deep-seated emotional detachment from their rejection? With the letter dispatched, Eleanor booked a quiet retreat for herself, far away from any family expectations. As the silence enveloped her, she felt a strange sense of clarity. For the first time, her worth didn't depend on their permission to come home. The silence was broken by frantic pleas, as the truth of Eleanor's actions began to sink in. Days later, in the peaceful solitude of her remote cabin, Eleanor switched on her phone to a flurry of missed calls, from her brother Arthur, from her father, and from their family lawyer, Mr. Caldwell. Arthur called first, panicked, describing their father's fury and talk of legal action. Eleanor calmly explained she was merely exercising her rights, just as their father had exercised his decision to exclude her. Next, Mr. Caldwell tried to downplay the situation, suggesting a misunderstanding. Eleanor firmly stated the documents were valid and she was invoking control. She realized they were scared because her father had likely defaulted again, now facing his daughter, the majority owner, instead of just the bank. Why did her family, especially her father, underestimate her so profoundly? Did they truly believe she would remain the same compliant daughter who always sought their approval, even after all her sacrifices? Eleanor set her only condition for discussion. Her father had to call her himself, not through intermediaries. It wasn't about the property, it was about acknowledgement. For the first time, Eleanor felt a profound sense of earned peace. On the morning of the family gathering, a trembling voice on the phone brought the true depth of their neglect into sharp focus. Eleanor woke to a call from her mother, Mrs. Albright, whose voice quivered with desperation. Mrs. Albright pleaded with Eleanor not to proceed, describing her father's rage and Arthur's distress. Eleanor gently asked if her mother remembered her father's text, the one that disinvited her from the family celebration, and the countless instances of dismissive silence after Eleanor's own significant life events, even dangerous professional situations. Her mother's inability to recall these moments painfully underscored Eleanor's long-standing invisibility to them. Was her mother truly oblivious to the emotional toll their actions took, or was her silence a form of complicity born of fear? Eleanor stated that her actions were not fueled by anger, but by the stark realization that she would never be genuinely welcomed unless she held a seat at the table she herself had helped finance. Unbeknownst to them, the formal notice of possession change was already scheduled for delivery that afternoon. The professional inspection revealed more than just structural issues. It exposed a deeper betrayal. That afternoon, Eleanor sat by her fireplace, awaiting an update. Her friend and business associate, Samantha Green, who managed properties and understood Eleanor's situation, called after her initial inspection of the family estate. Samantha reported that while cosmetically the property seemed acceptable, structurally it had significant problems: leaks, unfinished renovations, and mold. Then came the shocking revelation. 2 of the 3 bedrooms were being rented out to college students via illegal sublets, cash deals with no paper trail. How could her parents, who had cut her out of family life, be secretly profiting from her legally co-owned property? It was a calculated insult, a blatant disregard for her rights, and a symbol of their continuous exploitation. Eleanor's stomach churned, not with rage, but with a profound sense of insult. They had used her name to secure the property, filled it with strangers, and then told her she didn't belong. The realization crystallized her resolve for the next, more resolute step. A second, unyielding letter marked the end of her silent endurance. That night, Eleanor drafted a second letter, this one devoid of politeness. It served a formal 30-day notice of management transition and possible termination of residency, declaring their sublease agreements illegal, rent collection suspended, and the property under formal investigation for code violations. All communications were to go through legal counsel only. She signed it with her full name and her professional title. The deliberate choice of a cold, formal tone highlighted the severity of the situation. Was this her truly embracing her power, or a defense mechanism against years of emotional neglect? She sent the document to their lawyer, Mr. Caldwell, then texted her brother, Arthur, 3 simple words: check your mailbox. Within the hour, the frantic calls began again, filled with pleading and panic, even from her father. Eleanor listened to none of them. She had survived their neglect, and now they were living by her rules. The day of reckoning arrived, stark and cold, but bringing with it a profound sense of liberation. January 2nd arrived, bitter and snowy. Eleanor appeared at the family estate with Samantha, a locksmith, and a clipboard brimming with legal documents, her professional demeanor firmly in place. Her father, red-faced and enraged, confronted her, calling her actions a circus. Eleanor walked past him, asserting her control over her property. Her mother clutched a rosary, and Arthur sat defeated. Eleanor calmly explained that all rights to the house now fell under her control, and they had 30 days to formalize their tenancy under her contract or relocate. Her father erupted, but Eleanor coldly reminded him that he had defaulted and signed over control to her years ago to save his own reputation. She announced the illegal tenants had been notified, and any interference would lead to criminal charges. The father's desperate clinging to "our home" versus Eleanor's "my investment" highlighted the core conflict. Was his anger born of genuine hurt, or merely the shock of losing control? When her mother tearfully asked where they would go, Eleanor met her gaze directly. "I don't know, Mom. Maybe not home for the family gathering this year." As the locksmith changed the locks, Eleanor felt not like a rejected daughter, but a woman who had finally found her strength and asserted her boundaries. The silence that followed was not surrender, but a quiet acknowledgement of a power shift. The final notice expired without a fight. Eleanor arrived at the estate the next morning with a new key, finding it empty, devoid of any farewell. As she walked through the familiar rooms, she noted the lingering marks of her family's presence and their dismissive actions. A duffel bag left by Arthur, a deep scratch on the floor where a coffee table she had bought once stood, claimed by them as their own. She felt no anger, only a quiet awareness of the deep emotional wounds. The emptiness of the house was a powerful metaphor for the void in their relationship. Was the family's silent departure a sign of their defeat, or an ultimate refusal to acknowledge Eleanor's agency? Eleanor opened the back door, letting the cold wind sweep through. Feeling a sense of restoration rather than revenge, she decided to transform the estate into transitional housing for other professional women, particularly those who had faced similar challenges of returning and reclaiming their identities. She called it Eleanor's Haven, a place where no woman like her would ever stand alone again.